Hey everyone, it's Ivan, kitbatch.com, out here with my competition loadout from the 2023 High Desert Brutality. If you're unfamiliar with Brutality matches, they're pretty fun. They're basically like a two-gun match. And there's usually some sort of like physical element and honestly usually pretty fun stage design. Whether it's something around pop culture or just someone's idea like, hey, this would be fun to shoot. And High Desert Brutality was pretty cool. It was down in southern Idaho, and fortunately with the range, the ability to shoot longer distances. So pretty much everything down there, all the rifle stuff was like 200 to 500 yards, which made for really fun competition. And as far as divisions, there's a number of different ones. I actually shot one day I shot Irons Division, kind of in the staff match. So all the stages in one day. And then I ended up shooting in Partizan Division on Saturday and Sunday. Half the stages one day, half the stages the other. And in that there's certain kind of equipment requirements, and I'll get into some of that in a minute, but we'll start kind of bottom up. As far as footwear, I was actually wearing, I don't have them with me, my Altama, the OTB Over the Beach, which they're cool because they match, but they're actually not very good shoes. Like, they're made for finning. So if you're finning, maritime ops, assaulting beaches, they are perfect. If you're doing pretty much anything else, they just pretty much look cool, which is why I wear them, because like, why not match? And to that end, I ended up basically wearing this setup, had my Desert Tiger pants. These are like pretty vanilla, like BDU cut. Hold those for me, Peanut. And then my sweet combat shirt, which, yeah, combat shirt. And someone's gonna ask like, hey, where did you get that? Well, I had the tailors on our base in Afghanistan sew it up for me. So don't know where you get them. Probably get them through Tactical Distributors when they do another collab with Cry, get a Cry set. But this actually did a good job. It was really hot down there, and when I had this made, yeah, wanted to double check. Red Ram, they basically make merino stuff, and so this is basically a merino shirt with, yeah, turned into a combat shirt. So I had that going. And then iPro Ear Pro. It's nice wearing over ear sometimes, but if you're doing a lot of rifle shooting and if it's really hot, yeah, one, sweating into gel cups, and two, depending on how you're basically shouldering the gun, breaking that seal can be not fun, especially if you're shooting a loud gun. So I use these, reviewed them before. These are the Noizebarrier Micro by Auto Engineering. Did a great job for me. Still can hear range commands, everything like that, but yeah, just throw them in there. Also, don't interfere with iPro, which is nice. And for iPro, well, I have reviewed these a long time ago. These are my Director Elite by Smith. Recently sent them off and actually got amazing, like really amazing, incredible ballistic lenses put in them by Zeiss. Again, their prescription. And yeah, I really like them. One, I really like the frame, like it fits my face. It works well for me. Plenty of protection and stuff, like for my eyes. And yeah, these new lenses are really incredible. So yeah, that was kind of that. We'll get into, I guess, kind of first line gear, my belt setup. As far as my belt setup, I had this setup right here by Arbor Arms. This being the inner belt, Velcro lined with sweet raw aluminum buckle. This was actually a really early prototype from like years ago at this point. And then there's a outer belt here. And then within the outer belt, there's essentially a non-padded outer belt section. And so something they've done that's pretty cool is all of these panels can be opened like that. Or I guess this is actually the padded, pretty thin padding, but these panels can get open like that and giving you access for when you actually put pouches on, which is really handy. So up here, I had my 2 reloads for pistol, and also I guess just in general, this belt setup did a really good job, in part with the inner outer with the Velcro. because under dynamic movement, like it's not shifting, whereas if you just have like a padded war belt, which is nice if you're layering over big jackets in the winter, but I wasn't, so being able to have the shirt tucked in and this wraparound, Velcro to Velcro, stayed in place, it was great. Over here, Safariland ALS, I will say by the end of it, the ALS feature, I think this is the ALS feature, basically this locking part, I would have to manually like put it back. The spring and everything is just so full of moon dust. And then down here by Carey Concealment, thigh strap hanger, that was nice, especially with how dynamic a lot of the like stages were. And what I don't have on here, because I started dismantling it, is back here I had really used it for backpacking, and I think is why it's not on here, because I went back to my backpacking setup. But I basically have an insulated container for a Nalgene bottle, because doing things in the mountains in the winter, if you don't insulate your water bottle, it will freeze. And so part of the requirement was you needed a number of different things to include 1 liter of water on you at all times. So I kept that on there on the belt. It was kind of back, roughly center line. Did a good job, and being padded, it didn't like beat me up either because it was insulated. And with that, yeah, I never actually drank from it because I didn't want to have to refill it because it needed to start full at every stage. So I drank out of other water bottles. And then something else I actually took off of here because I needed it for another project, but pretty sweet prototype battle axe from, yeah, my buddy Bill Rapier, AMTAC shooting, AMTAC blades. Thing's pretty cool. I actually have the trainer for it, which I'll show you in a second. And basically part of this, or part of the criteria, the gear loadout for divisions, you need, I want to say, at least a 4-inch fixed blade on you for, yeah, competition. Right here is the trainer for it. It's pretty cool. Like there's some pretty neat elements like built into this thing. I'll eventually put in time and actually do a full review on it, but I'm actually really glad they had the stage they did where you got to use your blade. So when I say use your blade, pretty much the way the divisions broke down is the loadout, like combat load, depending on what division you were in, you needed a at least 4-inch fixed blade knife as part of that combat loadout. So I want to say there's like a 6-inch blade on this thing, or at least on the live blade. And so, yeah, I ended up using it for that stage. Definitely a lot of fun. And now we get to the pistol. Ta-da! Super vanilla stock Glock 19 Gen 3, which it's a Glock. I will say it ran because it's a stock Glock, so that's a good thing. Being in Partizan division, you essentially have a number of points. I want to say 3 points, and you can use them in different places, whether it's optics, bipods, extended magazines, things along those lines. So I opted for one of my points to be used for an optic. And this right here is the, I want to say it's dove mounts. Pretty cool. It's basically essentially a mount, or yeah, a optic mount that goes into the dovetail of your slide, and it locks in really secure, and it actually has a built-in like rear sight, and then it'll come with a corresponding front sight, like the appropriate height. So when you mount your optic, I want to say it's RMSC footprint, this right here being a little shield optic. Once you have that mounted, you actually can co-witness your irons, which again are built into the mount and the corresponding front sight. So ended up using this. There wasn't, I also have the SureFire X300 Turbo on here. There wasn't any shooting at night, but this optic, it did a great job, and it allowed me to take a gun that was straight up bone stock, not cut for an optic, and make it work. And yeah, thing did a good job for me there. I'll get into my sweet long gun in a minute, but I needed a way to carry magazines, and I wasn't shooting in armor division, so I didn't need to wear a plate carrier or anything like that. So opted for a chest rig. This one right here, I want to say Thing 1, maybe Thing 2. I forget which thing it is, by Spiritus Systems with their H harness. And also this pouch down here, because again, going back to equipment and divisions, needed to have a med kit on you also. So basically I had my med kit in here, full blowout kit in there, and then access to my tourniquet right there, or second tourniquet. Also had one on my person. And then I needed magazines. I guess I needed 4 rifle magazines. So one in my rifle, then I had 2 in here, these being their 308 inserts right here, and then my 4th magazine, which I never actually needed just because the course is fire, was this cute little guy right over here in, I forget which GP pouch this is, but had it in there along with a Kim light in case I went to a rave later, which I didn't. And yeah, and since someone will ask, this patch right here, yes, it glows in the dark. It is from my friends over at Black Triangle Group. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I ended up wearing this chest rig. It was nice, one, because it wasn't armor, and down there, it being really hot, it didn't cover everything, so I could definitely breathe like my body, and you can tell it's pretty dirty. Tons of moon dust down there. But overall, this did a good job, kept everything where it was easy to get it to, and also, yeah, kept it secure, especially in some of the more kind of dynamic movements. As far as my long gun, I was shooting this guy right here, which is my Scar 20, sent out by Shooting Surplus in 6.5 Creedmoor. And going back to shooting that Partizan division, I had 3 points. So used 1 point on my pistol optic, 2nd point on my bipod, this guy right here by Magpul, which that was a point well spent. There were a couple stages where it really came in handy, especially the Casarda drill, because unlike some bipods, this one can actually extend quite a bit, and how we were shooting, basically shooting up on a hillside, so was able to get enough elevation, really handy. Then 3rd point on my optic. This one right here being a new optic from Primary Arms. I think it's 3 to 18, yeah. With their ACSS Apollo reticle. It is illuminated, not really daylight bright desert setting illuminated. I mean, it's for like low light, evening, cloud cover, stuff like that. So didn't use illumination. And what else? Oh, hate shooting unsuppressed. So shot with the Jumbo Shrimp. It is Q's 6.5 titanium can. Don't need a bunch of weight hanging off the end of this. It's already plenty heavy. And then something I actually really like with this gun is the Parker mounted machine, basically a replacement rails. So rather than having a bunch of cheese grater pick rail all over this thing to destroy your hands and the rest of your gear, M-lock, so you can actually put things on it, which is pretty cool. And then Scarborator, so basically adjustable gas block for Scar 20. And yeah, this thing, oh yeah, in my sling, I guess, using these Blue Force Gear U-loops, this right here, because you have to match, Desert Tiger Stripe by Tactical Distributors, their lead Sling-Er. And this was a lot of fun, but I did run into issues.
Hit. Hit.
Something that's happened with this gun on a number of occasions, absolutely during the competition too, is for whatever reason, the 2nd round in the magazine, not the 3rd, not the 15th, 2nd round in a 20 round magazine, like it won't pick it up. And I don't know if it has to do with the geometry of the magazine in the 6.5 Creedmoor versus 308, but yeah, really weird. And I definitely ran into that a lot. And then towards like the end of the match, this thing was getting so dirty, it started choking a bunch. And yeah, it was no longer just the 2nd round in the magazine. It would, yeah, start getting sluggish. Probably, maybe, could have alleviated it by opening up the gas some. Again, that's not the issue with respect to the kind of phantom problem with the 2nd round in the magazine, but towards the end of the day, I think it was so dirty that it probably could have used more gas to just kind of like choke through all the grind. But yeah, got what I got. Overall, with this loadout, it was actually really fun. Like, it was a really good time, especially coming into shooting this after shooting in the irons division on like day one of the staff match. Man, there was, granted, a learning curve where I'm like, oh, what do I do with this magnification you speak of? But it was pretty nice. I will say, yeah, a learning curve. There was definitely times where I should have adjusted magnification and I didn't. Either I should have backed it out so I could just take in more information, or I should have probably cranked it down on a couple shots. This did a good job for me with respect to shooting though. I mean, there was, I think, 1 or 2 stages where we were gonna be shooting past 200. So the closest shot was like 200. And so for that, kind of looked at my dope. I'm like, okay, rather than just trying to do a bunch of holds, I would dial for respectively like 200 or 300, depending on where we were shooting, and then hold from there. On one of the stages, it kind of bit me, and in part, like, hey Ivan, maybe just slow down and settle into a better shooting position, which I didn't, and kind of paid for it. But yeah, as far as this optic on here and everything, and gun caliber, and speaking of that, I was shooting S&B. This is their 140 grain soft point. Stuff actually does good out of this gun. But yeah, kind of across the board, this whole setup was just a lot of fun, and that's pretty much what I go to these matches for, just to go have fun, and this was absolutely that. It was kind of frustrating running into those issues with this gun. Like I said, the one kind of known issue as far as that second round in the magazine, like not wanting to pick it up. And then towards the end of the match, when I think this thing was just getting really dirty and it started to choke, like just started to choke, and having to run the charging handle way more than I should have. With that said, is there something that would have changed? Not really. Like, as I mentioned, I would have liked this to have just run better, like not had any feeding issues, but I had a lot of fun shooting it, and same with the rest of the gear, to include the sweet battle axe. That was just such a fun stage. But yeah, overall I was pretty pleased. There will be links for all this stuff down below if you're interested in checking any of it out. And last but not least, if you appreciate my content and want to support it, greatly appreciate it. One of the ways is supporting me directly through Patreon, little as $1 a month. Gets you early access to videos, as well as some exclusive content, and yeah, helps me go out and create more content for you. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbatch.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.